All right. Hey guys, welcome back. I know it's been quite a while since I've done one of these ride-on streams. Hopefully you guys can hear me well. Those of you that followed me last spring probably remember that I had a little bit different setup. So this probably looks a little bit different, maybe not a whole lot, but we're playing around with some different microphones. I've moved, so that's changed how the setup is going. And there's a few things that we should probably update you guys on. Those of you that are new, there's a few different streaming channels that we're doing this ride on. So a lot of times last year, what I spent my time on was talking a lot about the setup, what cameras I was using, and all of that. And we'll do some more of that this year just to help you guys. Of course, green screen is a little wonky right now, but it is working. So I do apologize if it's not as smooth but as it was last year, but over the next few rides I'll be able to do that. But let's kind of jump into probably the most important thing about the difference between last year and this year, and that is my health. And so my health in some respects took a significant change for the worse. And I've been trying a lot of different things in order to try to get better. And one of those things was changing diet. And so at one point I had went to a full keto diet, and I wasn't really seeing any results, but I was okay with sticking it out. And probably a little bit over a month ago, I had an episode. Maybe it wasn't a month ago, but some time ago, I had an episode that put me in the emergency room. And basically, I had this, what they described as vertigo, but was definitely misdiagnosed. But the emergency room, that was their response to it. I had was not feeling great. Actually, I wasn't feeling bad. I just had what most people would probably consider vertigo. And vertigo for me, I knew enough to at least check my blood pressure. And I had this wimpy little wrist one that, come to find out, was not calibrated very well. So beware of some of that stuff that you guys get. But anyways, my blood pressure was 181 over 110. And of course, that's the danger zone. I've done a video on that already. So those of you that are following me can kind of go back and look at that one. But so that got me into, obviously seeing my doctor after I was released. And he didn't agree that it was vertigo. He thought it was more related to high blood pressure. And some of the things that, he was looking for, basically he put me into a stress test, and the stress test came back with some positive results. The positive results of the stress test were that I don't have any blockage, and that I don't have a lot, to worry about as far as that goes. But what it did show evidence of is a weakened lower left ventricle, and what that means is that I don't understand the numbers, so forgive me. Those of you that do understand them can understand what I'm about to say, but even I haven't taken time to understand some of it. My job is to take the medication and do what's prescribed. But anyways, so where he said you're at, like your left ventricle is at 50%, mine's at somewhere in the low 40 percentile, whatever that means. And he said that, the people that are in danger are usually, down in the 20 to 30% function. However, I've continued with elevated blood pressure, even through some medication changes. And so I was going to start this regimen. We'll get to this a little bit. I know I'm jumping around, but I was going to start this regimen last week, but with the new medication that I just got on Friday, I wanted to get a few days of that in my body before I started cardio. And one of the elements of my recovery, or I guess my prescription, is to do cardio. That's the answer. I've been restricted from weightlifting And for me, that sucks a lot, but it's part of the, it's part of what I've been told I have to do. So, I have to listen to that. And as tough as it is, so I've canceled my gym membership. That kind of just eliminates the option of at least the weightlifting side of things. Let's see here. I just want to make sure that if you guys are watching, again, this is new. This is a different setup. So if you're watching, oh, there we go. That's not good. I just want to make sure we're actually at least on Facebook. So apologize for that little noise inflection. But anyway, so, cardio is going to be part of it. But no weightlifting. And no weightlifting is very obvious. If there's a very serious problem going on as far as my heart's concerned, of course, we don't want to put it under any stress. Now, from the bit of research that I did, and I referred mostly to the University of Michigan for an understanding of this lower left ventricle weakness. And so some of the things that your body will do when you're not getting a strong enough pump, and in my case, I'll explain that in a minute actually. There's another kind of logical reasoning behind it, but when you're not getting a strong enough pump, is that your body will start to compensate by elevating your blood pressure so that it's getting enough blood through. So elevated blood pressure can be a sign of a left ventricle weakness. And then another sign of it is fluid retention. And man, no question about it, that was a major issue for me at the time of the episode that the emergency room tried to call vertigo. And so, the good news again is that there is no blockage. So there's nothing going on there. The bad news is that there's a lower left ventricle potential issue. So I'm scheduled in the first few days of November to get an echocardiogram, which will give them a better picture of what's going on. And my understanding, just based on my own research, is that what they're looking for is functionality and then potential wall thickness. Then there's different issues that come up between thinner walls and thicker walls, and but they've got to look at it to decide if there's anything that they need to do immediately. Now, why is 40% potentially bad for me? Well, it's partially because of how big I am as a person. And so trying to push blood through this much body is even more stress than it would be for somebody of a smaller stature. And so, part of the game, again, which it's been for the last, year, is to lose weight. However, no matter what diet or exercise I've done, I've not been able to do it. And only recently I knew I was doing the right stuff. I knew I was exercising properly. I knew I was eating the right diets for the most part, but I wasn't over carbing myself, and I wasn't necessarily overeating, maybe a few times here and there, but the primary reason had to be something else. And I suspected it was an insulin issue. Again, the size of my body, that becomes a bit more of an issue. But so again, long story short, I need to lose weight. Well, I was put on Trulicity here 4 weeks ago, because I just took my 4th shot yesterday. And that resulted, outside of the fact that it's tough for me because of my needle phobia, that has had pretty quick positive results. Now, my needle phobia doesn't, whichever way you want to say it, I don't do daily blood tests by pricking my finger. I don't do that. But the way Trulicity works, there isn't a thought of there being much of a danger as far as being too low. which is what they'd be looking for in my circumstance. And so right now it's okay because they're monitoring me every few weeks. However, if it comes to the point where it becomes a concern, then I'll probably be prescribed a device that is permanently affixed to your upper arm, and it continuously takes that blood sugar reading if that becomes an issue. We'll see. I mean, but right now, what we have done after a discussion with my doctor the other day is we're going to up that from 75 to 150, and I don't know if that's a cc thing or if that's milligrams or whatever that is. So, so that is that's kind of a bit of an update. But next Sunday, I'll be taking my first 150 whatever it is dose of Trulicity. And just so you know what the reasoning is for that, we haven't done another, obviously you wouldn't do another A1C that fast, and we haven't done a blood sugar other than when I was in the emergency room. So that blood sugar test came back at 150 something, fasted blood sugar test, and just not quite where it needs to be. And insulin for me is kind of is probably the key to this whole thing, because not that insulin's going to fix my heart, but getting my insulin working properly is going to allow me to lose weight. And my doctor at this point kind of feels like I can lose anywhere between 50 and 80 pounds over the next, maybe year, being on this higher dosage of Trulicity, just because I've already responded positively to it in the first 4 weeks. And so that's going to be the side effect of Trulicity, and that's what should help everything else get better. But the key to all of that for me is going to be cardio, and unfortunately no weightlifting at this point. And whether you think I should or shouldn't, it's not really it kind of doesn't matter. I mean, I like to weightlift. I've done it since I was 12 years old, and it's something I enjoy doing. So if I'm ever allowed to do it again, that'll be good for me mentally. But if it's one of those things where it's determined that I need to basically completely stay away from it in order to live the long, prosperous life I plan to live, then we just got to change things. And I like this. So it's not like getting on a bike is something that is a torturous thing for me. I enjoy biking. I've learned to enjoy riding inside because, again, I use this app called Zwift, and Zwift has allowed me the freedom to feel like I'm getting something done. And then the other thing for me is doing this live and having conversations with those of you. So the topics may be a little bit more vast this year potentially, because there are some things that have changed in my personal business life. And so we may have some of those conversations. We are streaming across many more platforms this time around. So that'll be a new learning curve for me. And there's more, there's going to be more to come with that. The microphone situation, for those of you that are interested, I know it doesn't sound good right now. Microphone's actually sitting right here in front of me. It's a really inexpensive USB mic. It's a 5-fine. It's like a $30 or $40 microphone, sitting on top of a tripod. And I am still using, I am still using my bridge camera, which is kind of between it's somewhat between a DSLR and a mirror camera. They call them a bridge camera, and it's very inexpensive. And of course, I'm using the Elgato Cam Link in order to process that video image through my computer. And then I guess I didn't want to do all this, but we are using OBS Studios to stream, and then I use restream.io in order to put it on multiple platforms. So, you know, a lot of times I'll put more effort into graphics and changing scenes and stuff like that, but in the whatever you want to call it, for me trying to just get it done, we went ahead and just kind of put a simple layout together. And I know I'm streaming my ticker on the bottom for OAF Life. That's more specific to the fact that I do have a specific page on OAF Life that's dedicated to both the YouTube account that this is streaming to and the Twitch account that this is streaming to. And the interesting thing about the Twitch account is that you're able to see anybody that's currently using Zwift that's happened to be on. So you can jump around to different Zwift riders. That's a good place to do that. And I don't know of a lot of other websites that have that capability. And so, especially if you're just learning about Zwift and you're curious, that's a good place, I think, to watch some of the streamers. Now, the reason that we fit into the Twitch world is because Zwift is technically considered a game. And so, as a game, it can be on a gaming platform. I think I attempted to put it on Mixer, and I'm not there yet. Because I haven't used Mixer in a long time, I think I'm going through a verification process right now or whatever. I don't know. It's not that big a deal. For me, it's more about figuring out how does it work. So I'm not super concerned with much of it, to be honest with you. But yeah, I just want today's ride to be kind of a reintroduction to, you know, my body getting on this, explain to some of you what's been going on with my health. I just saw this morning that my mother texted me asking me questions about it, and I didn't respond to her. So hopefully she's watching this and she'll get some updates as far as that goes. But this is something I don't have a plan exactly yet as to how often I plan on riding. I know last spring I had a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, and I kind of had a time of day so you could expect when to see me. I don't have that particularly set right now, and I do need to work on my grease stream, because when I sit up, of course, it cuts me off, and when I spread my wings, of course, it cuts me off again. And that wasn't the case last year, but again, we used a little bit different setup. But we're trying to get a good use of this space, and so that's really what I'm up to. For me, I'm not planning on, one of the other things that I used to do last year a lot was that I would end each ride with a kind of a spin out, kind of a, you know, really just crank down. Not going to be doing that because of the heart issue that I have. And so I don't plan on putting tons of effort into any of these workouts. This is just intended to do cardio, do it for, you know, maybe up to 30 minutes at the most, and then move on with the day. So right now we're at about, you know, almost 19 minutes, and I don't know, I may go a little bit longer than I planned on originally, but or shorter. I may go shorter, I should say. I do have some things I got to do here quickly, so we'll see. Apparently I just completed the route that I was on. I just chose a quick flat route because again, I'm not trying to push my cardio. I'm just trying to get my cardio in, and so I have to stay, you know, kind of lightweight as I'm doing this. Now, the other thing that I realize is probably distracting for a lot of you is you see me looking off to the side. Well, because of this current setup, let me get my hands where you can see them. One computer's here, which is showing the game. Another computer is there, which is showing the stream. And then the camera is over there. So I do apologize. This is all part of streaming and, you know, getting yourself reacclimated and doing all those things. The microphone setup hopefully will get better within the next few rides. I don't like using a USB, you know, microphone. I've gotten to a point where I've been using some pretty high-end equipment, not expensive, but, you know, higher end equipment. And my current situation, I just don't feel like I'm really ready to add that yet. And honestly, the primary holdback on that is I don't have a side table like I used to have, and so I gotta figure that out. So if I can get a table that either sits up front, or if I get a table that's off to the side, then I'll be able to bring, you know, my keyboard, you know, my mouse, which I have my mouse right now kind of on a makeshift situation right now. Possibly a different microphone setup. And so as those things change, we'll see what works. I do have a very inexpensive wireless system that I may try next time, but I would prefer that I go through my Rodecaster, which right now nothing is going through the Rodecaster at all. This is all through OBS. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. Just enjoy the ride. So I do always, hey, what's up, fake beard? I do always appreciate people jumping in, saying hi, encouraging me. This journey isn't just about being, you know, entertainment for you. This is kind of a required, this got a lot more to do with my personal health than anything else. And I've just discovered that Zwift is a great way for me to get the cardio in based on me personally. So what does that mean for those of you that are new? Well, part of that is, you know, I've had now 3 separate severe knee injuries. And so I currently have and we'll talk about this maybe in another ride, but I currently have a severely torn medial meniscus on my right side. And we're still up in the air whether or not I'll have surgery on that. Only because the fear is, at my age, that I'd be putting myself in a knee replacement scenario within the next 5 years if I had the cartilage, the damaged cartilage removed. And I already have onset arthritis going on in that knee according to the surgeon. So this is one of those things where I don't know if I'll do it or not. And then, you know, you can kind of add up on the list. My left hip is somewhat displaced, and so that's another reason. The lower back issue. I mean, just stuff that happens from having a bit of a reckless life, and then also, you know, being heavy like I am. So obviously, weight loss will be something that we'd want before consideration of any of the other potential surgeries. But we'll see. I mean, so there's a lot of reasons that riding a bike is better for me than even walking on a treadmill, or you know, of course, running. And then even some of the CrossFit stuff. I mean, those are pretty jarring activities. And so maybe the only other option I would potentially have as to mix things up down the road would probably be to add some level of swimming. And I am currently only about 2 blocks away from a very nice YMCA here in the Blue Water area. And so that's something I may consider down the road. But right now, I can knock out, you know, 30 minutes to an hour pretty easily on the bike. And last year, last spring, that was primarily what I was doing, was an hour, 3 days a week. And it's not that I don't feel like I can do that right now, is that we got to get through some of these heart things before we head down that. So when I'm riding, there's a lot going on in my head. 1, making sure the stream's rolling. 2, trying to remember to focus in on the camera, which today I'm not doing a great job of. And then, you know, 3, watching my heart rate, which has been in that 150 range, I believe. And then 4, just kind of paying attention to my body and making sure that I don't have any signs of any kind of issues. It wasn't suspected that I would, otherwise I wouldn't have been released to do cardio, but you know, kind of is what it is, right? And wattage, I think we're doing okay on watts. I mean, I've been watching them here and there, and that's a lot better. I think that's a lot better than I was doing last year, so I feel like I'm in better shape than even I was in the spring. The most I did this summer outside was a 27-mile ride, and I ride a gravel bike, so I'm not on a road bike at all. And that probably was a time that I'm sure that if I would have been more conscious of the issues that I currently have, that I would have recognized that that was probably showing me that I needed to get into the doctor directly. But I had a doctor before I moved. My previous doctors in my old hometown, as far as I'm concerned, they're quacks, man. They were a joke. They never even attempted to figure out what my issues were, in my opinion. You know, they just I mean, they were terrible. And when I got over here and found this new doctor, you know, I don't know if I've kind of got a theory that he's a younger doctor, and so he's younger than I am. And I feel like, you know, he has, I don't know, man. There's something, the guy's smart, and the guy makes a lot of sense, and he just is a good fit for me. Let's just put it that way, without bashing the other guys too much. And so I feel like I'm in a good, you know, situation. And what I like about him being younger than me is that, you know, he should outlive me, which means we should be on this journey together for a long period of time. And with what my body's already showing as having some issues, that makes me feel good. So I feel good about that. But like I said, I'm monitoring a lot of things, one of which is just how I feel. And so making sure that I don't have any, you know, chest pains or anything like that, that would be alarming. One of the things they wanted me to keep an eye out for was being out of breath. And I told them that one would probably be a challenge for me, because I'm used to, as an ex-athlete, pushing myself probably beyond what a lot of people ever have as far as being out of breath. I can very specifically remember times where it even amazes me to think about what I did. And so I know I have a threshold probably higher than most. And so I don't know personally what that means as far as it goes. Sorry, I'm just reading a message here, which you guys should hopefully see online. If you're not, I'll have to fix that later. But fake beard, I'll definitely check that out. But anyways, I think we're gonna end the ride here, even if it's a minute or two short. I gotta go get my kids from school. But anyways, welcome back to the show. And I look forward to having more conversations with all of you that decide to join. If you are on this, just hit the notification so that you get notified when I go live next time. If you're on Facebook, probably be a little careful with that notification part, because right now the way Restream works, I'm not paying for it, so everything goes to my personal page. And so when I am talking business, you know, my lives will show up there. And what I plan to do is just share those lives over to the OAF Life business page, or community page, I should say, later. So you don't necessarily need to subscribe to my Facebook personal page for live notifications, because I have a varied amount of content that I put out there, and there'll be some changes and some things that have happened recently. So, you know, I don't expect you guys to have to listen in on all of that. I am working within the OBS ecosystem to make sure that when I do those type of videos, that we're not spreading that out to the OAF Life group. But, you know, I've made worse mistakes on lives in the past, so you'll just have to bear with that. But again, thanks guys for being here. And heck, we might as well go the last 30 seconds and get that 30 minutes in. I feel good. I feel pretty good. I don't feel like anything's tightening up, which is what the concern that everybody has. I know the new medicine is kicked in already, only because I've kind of felt it the first day. It didn't feel great, but I feel good now. And so, anyways, I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next ride. And, oh yeah, ride on.